What is up, everyone? DJ Nubis here with you on the Meltdown Radio Podcast, doing another Kaiju Spotlight with my special guest, Kevin Lambert from the Entertainment Headquarters. Thank you for joining me, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Great co-host on a lot of my shows. Great dude. Great channels. So be sure to check out all his shit over there. In fact, I think he just said he went and saw Iron Lung. Did you already put the review up?
I've just launched it on the channel.
Be sure to go check that out. It just came out in theaters. It's been in production for a while, but it seems like it's doing really well, which is good for the director. So be sure to check that out. So we're here to talk about a kaiju named Legion, which appears in Gamera 2 from the Heisei series, Gamera versus Attack of the Legion. We talked about this when we did your, celebration of Gamera's 60th anniversary. We went through the movies, and this was probably like about everybody's favorite trilogy of films from Gamera, just because of what great they're made and the storylines and everything. So, and you even said this was your favorite of the trilogy. Like you really enjoyed this one of the trilogy.
I just really enjoy the story, but I also enjoy the creature Legion itself. I like how it operates. It's like a giant parasitic alien that arrives to Earth, and it basically terraforms the planet for its species, and then it somehow projectiles itself back out into space to the next planet. So it's like this parasitic invading alien entity, and I just love the idea, and I love how you've got like Legion, the mother, and then you've got the little soldier aliens, and I just loved how the whole idea of this creature operates and works within the confines of the Gamera universe. And of course Gamera is the guardian of the universe. He's the protector of Earth, so obviously the Legion creature was an amazing foe for Gamera, and I thought was a great step up from the first movie within the Gamera Heisei era, because obviously in the first one he faces he's one of his most popular foes from the Showa era, which is the Gaios. And so it was nice to see them bring in a new creature in the second movie, and even the third one with Iris, where they upped the ante again. But for some reason, Legion, for me, has always stood out as my favourite of the villain monsters from the Heisei era.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it seems like in some ways that Legion was a little bit more of a problem than even Iris. And I sort of think about this because one of Godzilla's biggest foes was Destroya, and it starts
Mhm.
out a similar way where it's sort of like on these little miniature looking creatures and then becomes something different. Now this one already has like a mother, uh, but it directs its little soldiers of beetles. Uh, but yeah, it's interesting watching this, and then even then, just watching the different types of weaponry that Legion has, as far as like what it can do, which I always thought was pretty amazing on itself too. So a Legion, of course, is like an insectoid type of alien. It's also called symbiotic Legion, which can be a little misleading just because normally now when we think about symbiotic, we're thinking of like Venom, you
Mhm.
know, shifting and stuff like that. But this was before Venom. Well, not really necessarily because Venom's been around for comics and ages, but just in terms of being an alien species, they've given it the symbiotic Legion name. Um, Obviously, it only appeared just once in this film, which I would assume that it'd be cool to see it show up again at some point if they ever
Oh
reboot.
yeah. And technically, when you look at Legion, there's three forms of Legion. Legion starts off as a plant. There's the plant form, but the plant form is probably, even though you've got the plant form, then you've got the soldier form, and then you've got the mother form. And the mother form actually has two different versions. She has the flying form, where she flies away, and then obviously once she grows, she then turns into like this giant insectoid type creature. But the plant form is actually probably the most dangerous, because if the plant form explodes, it's like a nuclear bomb going off. Will just obliterate everything in its vicinity, which is what basically helps terraform the planet for this species.
Yeah, and that also is almost like Biollante. So like they kind of borrowed a little bit from Biollante there as well with the seeds and throwing
Mhm.
them up in space. So obviously, Gamera had some struggles with Legion fighting it.
Mhm.
But as you said, like they do, they kind of start on plant form. They try to terraform the planet, and then it just starts like, forming into this insectoid thing where it has these rhinoceros beetles and those even can be a problem because I see like there's a one moment where they all gather on top of Gamera and they
Yeah.
start like messing them up just from like exploding or whatever. So it's really quite a impressive creature
Mhm.
in terms of like a villain
And
against Gamera.
I generally feel in the Haze era, even though we talked about this in my 60th anniversary special for Gamera, how Gamera's like the ultimate fighter when it comes to kaiju. He'll take on anything, and he always like gets cut. He always gets smashed up, loses a limb or bleeds. But I generally feel Legion within the Haze era is the one that got the closest to actually killing him,
Hmm.
because in the confines of the story, at the end he has to goes into like this hibernated state, and he starts draining the earth's mana, like this unique energy, and he has to build this energy up to finally take on Mother Legion, to finally try and defeat her. Because as you know, in the end of the movie, he releases this giant energy blast that basically obliterates her, and all that energy is he's had to pull from the Earth's core to finally take out Mother Legion. But before that, she was like kicking his ass. She had like the microwave blast, and then she had the laser rod blast. Like you see, you even had the mini soldier ones that were draining the mana energy from his body. And it's even said in Attack of not Revenge of Iris in the third one, even though Legion's not featured in the film, it's actually mentioned that because of the fight with Legion, Gamera's depleted all of his mana energy. So he's had to use every bit of what he drained from the core to take on Legion. So he's kind of potentially weakened himself in many ways to finally defeat her.
Yeah. Yeah. So it has like different abilities. It's got the pneumatic locomotion. That has the high band electric eyes. Also the microwave shell, which I don't remember seeing it, but it's like sort of like it brings down like this bluish
Hmm.
sword-like thing. I guess it protects itself from attacks. And of course, you mentioned the red rod, which is kind of like those red whips that it
Yeah.
throws at camera.
Hmm.
There's an egg chamber, of course, which the little soldiers can come out of. Siege arms. It's got like it's actually pretty big compared to Gamma too. It's very large. It kind of
Huge.
towers over them. Yeah,
Like, 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 there's hardly any merchandise with Legion out there. I think X Plus released a statue many moons ago. There's been, the deformed little mini, them little mini statues that basically look like funky, look like a Funko Pop, like the little mini uh, defo reels, where
yeah,
they're like the mini statues. For example, I'll just show you one. You've got like this one, it's like the defo reel, but that's like
yep.
-1. So they've brought out two versions of the defo reel of Legion. The one where she's in a blue normal form and the one where she's red with the red rod energy. But they've never really brought out much merchandise, and I generally feel it's because of the complexities of our design and the overall construction of that. And um, then eventually SH Monster Art, which is the popular Chinese toy company, finally released the Legion figure for the anniversary alongside another version of Gamera from Attack of Legion, the movie, and it was $500.
Mm, 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 mm.
Now, I love Legion, it's just my favourite from the Heisei, but don't think it was worth dropping the 500 on.
Right.
But even the figure was huge in itself. And you've seen how big, like, higher toys figures are, and you can imagine the size of
Although I was kind of surprised that my GMK wasn't larger because, like, I mean, compare. I mean, it's not super bad. I mean, my Shimo is still kind of bigger, but I was kind of surprised it wasn't a little bit bigger than this. But it's got some good weight to it. It's well made. So Haya does make some quality
yeah, it's got the
figurines.
most. I hear as well, though, when it comes to that particular Godzilla figure, it's got the most detail. Apparently, the
Yeah,
head even got the little spikes under its chin, which I think the SH Monster Art version doesn't have, because the SH Monster Art version was based off the suit. I believe that one's actually done off the digital scans from the movie. Uh,
that's cool. Yeah.
yeah, I've actually sent you a picture of the Legion figure via Facebook. I don't know if you can show it up, but if you look at the size of this figure compared to the Gamera figure next to it, you can see the sheer size in it. It's huge.
Let's see here. Oh God. Do, 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 do. I wish it would just say all files. That'd be great. All right. So yeah, so this is what he's talking about.
So the sheer size of that, and that's like the size of an average SH Monster Art figure, the Gamera one.
Okay.
So SH Monster Art, I've got a couple, but as you can see, the size of that thing is huge.
Yeah.
The box apparently is it's like it's like that wide and that deep.
So as far as the design, like, would you change anything if you could on it, or do you think that it's actually pretty cool design by itself?
I enjoy the design as it stands, but I think with today's modern technology, they could, like, obviously because it is suitmation, it was hot. You had one person, I think, in the suit at the front, and then back was all done via puppetry.
Yeah.
Today's standards of CGI and how far we've come in technology, you could make Legion more flexible. You could do a lot more with the design. You could even actually add more legs to the creature if you wanted, or more tentacles or something. You could do so much with Legion. Like as
It'd
today,
actually be kind of cool if they did like almost made him like a centipede. That'd be kind of cool.
yeah, definitely. But I like the Legion design as it stands. But yeah, there's been lots of different fan, art of different versions of Legion. But I quite like the designer as it is. Like I say, just even if we just did a CGI version where it just moves better. And and obviously you're seeing within the Gamera Rebirth television series how they updated many different versions of the classic kaiju from the Showa era. Like Guron was my favorite, just amazing. But then also I love what they did with Zigra, turned it from the shark design to the stingray design, and for me it worked a lot better.
Yeah.
It made
More sense.
Zigra a more menacing foe.
Yep. I think the other thing is too what would be kind of cool because when we talked about like Legion's like arsenal of abilities, like I would like to almost seem like almost like a what's the thing that the Mutos use, the EVP or whatever it is.
Yeah, where it blanks the electricity out. Yeah,
I would have liked to see something like that with Legion as well. That would have been kind of cool.
There were even I remember throughout the movie where there's a scene where camera flies in and he's like sliding across the floor, and he's just blasting at Legion with his fireball breath, and it's just bouncing away because she's got like this energy field protecting her. Yep. So they could have easily done something with that where you're seeing, in a modern film, you could enhance on that. If they ever did do a modern film though, and they ever did, all have these fantasy battles of who we would like to see face off, I've always wanted to see Legion versus Biollante.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So there's I've seen a few Legion versus Biollante fan art, and they're just epic. I think Legion versus Destroyer would be a good one, but obviously when it comes to Destroyer's all one being, who then dissolves into the little soldier ones, where Biollante is just one being as well with the tentacles, but they could enhance on our abilities and make her, grow things out of the ground or something to take on.
Because she's also plant form, like have her almost like absorb some of the seeds that Legion has, so she can almost manipulate it if she wanted to.
Yeah, because you forget, even though it's parasitic, Legion, she still has like this plant ability. I've always said, I wonder what would have happened if, because how I look at certain kaiju within the world of Godzilla or Gamera or any, there's kind of underneath it all, there's like these eternal elements where, for example, Legion could represent the Earth. Mothra can represent Earth. You've got all these different. Godzilla is a force of nature, uncontrollable power. And then Rodan, in many ways, could be wind. Like that's how I look at them. And I've always thought, what if Biollante had also like a telekinetic ability where she can control plant life, and she can mutate it at will. So in that case, you could say if she's fighting Legion, there's like a thorn bush next to her, she could radically make it overgrow and become like gigantic with thorns that penetrate into Legion's, body parts and stuff like that. Because I always like them element of like nature and Earth and all of the natural things being connected as one, which is what Mothra represents. So it makes me think if you had a threat like Legion attacking the Earth and you had another Guardian monster in the form of Biollante, how would you combat it? Because that's parasitic, and she would then become a defender against the thing that she basically helped bring her to life.
Yeah, and also because again, Legion, has the rhinoceros beetles as like soldiers. You could almost make Biollante into like a carnivorous plant.
Yeah.
So she could eat away at some of that and gain whatever force that she could from the little soldier. So there's a lot of possibilities there if they decided to kind of make that matchup happen.
Yeah, because I know you've got a couple of the IDW comic books,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a series called Godzilla Rivals, where basically they're like short one-off stories where you'll pit a different character from the world of Godzilla against each other. So it would be interesting if they ever did like a comic book like that based with Gamera, where you have different enemies or different versions and different eras of Gamera taking on different versions of eras of his foes from past films or even fan fiction.
Yeah. And I know we've talked about, the possibilities of hoping that Dio and Toho come together and somehow make it where Godzilla finally meets Gamera at some point at some, whatever, whether it's Legendary or through Toho. But, seeing what Legendary has done with the MonsterVerse, would you like to see Legendary have a shot at kind of redoing a new form of Gamera and his villains and stuff?
I personally, obviously, because there's like a contract with Toho and Legendary and Warner Brothers, I think it's virtually impossible for Gamera to join the MonsterVerse because Toho would have to agree on that.
Well, I mean, separately, like even if just Legendary said we're going to do our own MonsterVerse, but it's going to be with Gamera this time instead of Godzilla.
I think, honestly, when it comes to Gamera, I think a different studio should take it, like say Paramount or or Universal, just to give it a new set of people, a new set of ideas, new creators, and really put their own spin on it. I think if anything, when it comes to the MonsterVerse, you've got more likely, them doing a Pacific Rim connection to the MonsterVerse than a Gamera one. But
that'd actually be really cool because again, Pacific Rim deals with, kaiju coming from basically another dimension or another planet, so to speak, or another universe, via the trench and stuff. So that would be kind of cool because you could actually make Gamera work with that as well as like Gaios and all them. So that would be actually kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely. And like you say, with them opening these alien rifts in the Pacific Rim and in the trenches, who's to say they don't open the rift, but it doesn't go to the alien homeworld? It goes to an alternative Earth.
Yeah.
And who happens to step through it? But Godzilla and Kong and all of that jazz. And they could even do a thing where they open the rift where it's a time shift, where they actually open the rift by mistake during a certain point in time where Ghidorah's still alive and flies through.
Oh, that would be great.
I know. We're wasted.
Yeah, I know. It's like we get ourselves worked up at the possibilities. We're like, they're never going to do it.
Yeah, but the thing is with the MonsterVerse, it started off very small, very grounded, and then it's kind of gotten so, popcorn flick and like more sci-fi elements. They seem to add each film they make now. It's getting more and more like Guardians of the Galaxy. They're making them more like heroes and they're all creatures, which I understand they're trying to aim at a certain audience, but I think audiences are going to get bored because they need to try and do something, and maybe doing something would be to bring in a new main creature, because Kong and Godzilla are your main two, and everybody else that they bring in is more like a cameo or a side character, where they need to potentially bring in a third main kaiju that's also going to be at the forefront of storytelling to just change things up and make it interesting. And maybe if it's not going to be Gamma Ray, it would be Pacific Rim.
Yeah, because that's really the only other option to have. I mean, you could try to do Cloverfield, but it's just not enough there, not enough meat on the bones for that one. I mean, Pacific Rim makes far more sense in terms of kaiju with Godzilla than Cloverfield does.
Yeah. Also, I do know Legendary and Warner Brothers are working on a Pacific Rim television show. So we're not getting a third movie. We're getting it. I think it's a prequel show, so it's going to be about the early years of the Rift. The early years of when they first discover the kaiju that attacks Earth, which I can see working because, like you see, Monarch Legacy of Monsters, the show that's debuting season 2 soon. That's all about the history and the build-up of Monarch and how the organization formed and came together. So, of course, I can't see them why they can't do that with Pacific Rim. Because, as you know, the law of Pacific Rim is to build these walls to protect the major cities of the world. So, it'll be the early days of them building the first wall or something, I could imagine the show being about.
Yeah.
But going back to Gamera and Legion, though, it would be amazing if they opened a portal and out suddenly thousands of little Legion soldiers started crawling through the wall, or they could actually twist it and make Legion one of the main kaiju that's made by the precursor aliens. So the precursor aliens are the alien species within Pacific Rim. So it would be amazing if the revealed Legion was actually their leader or something, and it's like a huge creature who's super intelligent that can control other species to do its will and create these rifts into our world, and then suddenly Legion's like, fuck this, I've done everything I can, I'm going to have to go through the rift myself and fuck shit up.
For sure. Well, ultimately, what do you think is going to be the legacy of Legion, like going forward? Is it going to be a creature that many people will remember, or is it because Gamera already is sort of like second fiddle to Godzilla in terms of popularity? Do you think a creature like Legion will ever be remembered at all going forward?
Oh, yeah. How I look at Legion is I look at Legion like, if you look at the Godzilla franchise, you've got Godzilla, there's different incarnations of Godzilla, there's different, forms of Godzilla, different movies, different laws, but there's always that one or two foe or ally that breaks the mold and stands out and is remembered just as much as the main creature. So, for example, Mothra. You've got Mothra, King Ghidorah, Rodan, Mecha King Ghidorah. They're classed as the top 5. So they're always remembered. But I also often, and especially when we went to G-Fest, I often heard people talk a lot about other creatures that hardly get talked about. Like Biolante's always on the forefront of people's minds because of how unique looking the creature was and the uniqueness of our storyline. And I find when it comes to the Gamera franchise, I feel as if Legion has that same appeal. I feel like Legion is just such a unique looking creature with such a unique storyline and background, and how it, like I say, operates as parasitic alien that goes from planet to planet and terraforms it for its species. I just think it's a creature that stands out more so for its design and overall look. But I generally think Legion is a fan favourite, not just among Gamera fans, but Kaiju fans in general.
Very nice. Yeah, I think so too. Even though it's probably not going to be standing out as much as like a Ghidorah or something like that, or Rodan, but in the end, because of the Gamera universe, Legion's definitely one of the ones that you're going to remember a lot. Aside from like Girion or some of the other earlier ones that were out there, like Gallus and stuff like that. But well, tell everybody what you got coming up on your channel soon.
So I've just launched my Iron Long review, which is made by Mark Feiler, who is a well-known YouTuber who I've just discovered, but he's well-known, over 40 million subscribers, and it's a film that he self-produced, self-released, took him 2 to 3 years to get out there, and it's doing really well. 3 million budget, it's made 20 million at the box office. It was a unique film, so please check my review out for that. Also might be doing, in a few minutes, you and me are getting together to do the second trailer for Monarch Legacy of Monsters Season 2, and then I'll be seeing you on Friday for Retro Classic Movie Show, where we're talking Omega Man with Thrash Pondupons.
Omega Man. As for me, later tonight, Neko and I will be sitting down with actor Derek Ronk, and we'll be talking about his latest film 267, as well as catching up with him and some of his other projects he's been involved with the last couple of years. If you don't know, he's also been the guy behind the YouTube channel Flick Snacks and Knickknacks. So we'll be talking with him a little bit tonight. Also coming forward, Ghouls of Midnight, my pick this week, Revenge of the Living Dead Girls with Mr. Tony of the Dead, episode 113. Then going into next week, next week, I got another Kaiju Spotlight coming up with Mr. Jake Hall. And this is one I'm actually really excited to talk about because no one really does a lot of talking about this. What we did do a little bit of discussion on is Daimogen. So we'll be tackling that guy there, which will be a lot of fun. And then I've got a couple of Silver Screen Savants, of course, coming up that Alvin and I are going to do. One is Primitive War, which we'll be discussing probably in a week or two. And then also either probably in March, we're going to go and tackle Wrong Turn, which I have yet to see. So,
is that the new one?
No, this will be the original one. So the original one, Elizabeth Dooku. So, but that's really what's coming up for me. Yeah. Thank you, sir, for joining me for another Kaiju Spotlight. We've got plenty more down the road. These guys already put in their list. It's like Christmas for them. So it's a matter of getting them all sorted and ready to go, but I have to keep planning them and getting them made up, and it just takes a while.
Yeah, it's always fun when we do them. Also, another thing I forgot to mention, on the 13th, which is next Friday, we're going to be doing the next Into the Darkness, which is my program on my channel where we talk all things horror, and we're talking about the Exorcist franchise, which I think Anthony Jordan's very excited for.
Good. I haven't heard from him in a while, so figure out what he's been doing.
Well, I don't know if you've seen his Facebook, but I think they've had another bit of snow, so I don't know if the weather's affected him.
Yeah, I know he took a picture of him being out in the snow, so he looked kind of funny. Look cold. I don't want to go out in the cold. Fuck that. It's bad enough I have to go out to the garage to get one of my sodas. Like, it's just too fucking cold. But anyway, please like and subscribe to Entertainment Headquarters. Let us know your thoughts on this particular kaiju. What do you think about Legion? Is it a formidable foe for Gamera, or do you think that maybe there's some other ones that are tougher? What's your final thoughts on that? Let us know in the comment section. Like and subscribe to the Meltdown Radio podcast. We appreciate all your support here, and we'll see you next time. Take care.